My name is Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. As a young woman, I was married for 7 years. Then my husband died from the plague. For years to follow, I wished I had died as well. There was nothing for me, no husband, no children, no promise of the future and grandchildren, nothing. Much of the time, I was hungry, cold, barely existing in this world, alone. Then one day in prayer, the voice of God came to me. God told me that I was not alone. He loved me and that He would be with me always. God told me to go to the temple in Jerusalem, so far away, and yet I listened. He said He had an important job for me there. I was to pray and fast for the people that came in front of me, and I quickly learned to do that. I also learned that people come to the temple for many reasons, but they're often not there to worship. They come to show off their new clothes, or to visit with their neighbors, or to try to impress others with their piety. I prayed day and night for the people that God sent in front of me at the temple. Sometimes God gave me a prophecy to share with the priests. I became very well known at the temple, and I never left, neither day nor night. But most people ignored me, walking past me as though I didn't even exist. Then one day, God spoke to me again. He said someone special was coming. A royal king, a priestly king, a mighty ruler, someone who would change the course of the world. That person was coming, and I would see that person. I was going to have this opportunity that few others would ever get. Me, an unimportant woman who no person noticed or loved or cared about. But thankfully, God noticed, cared, and loved for me. As you can imagine, I spent that day intently looking all around me, watching for the person that was to come. I looked for riches and power and might. And I saw wealthy men walk into the temple. They swaggered and boasted and flaunted their wealth. But God told me those were not the ones I was watching for. I saw young men arrive, scholars and working men just beginning their careers and their walk with God. Some would go on to be powerful. Some would become priests, men of spiritual power. But God told me that was not the one that I was watching for either. Well, my old legs were getting weary, and I was almost ready to sit down in the shade when a young couple came into view. The man was older and dressed in simple clothing. The woman was young and carrying a baby. They had with them 2 young pigeons, so I knew they had come to offer a sacrifice after the birth of their baby. Those pigeons told me 2 things. First, the baby was 40 days old and here to be dedicated, as instructed by Moses. Secondly, they were obviously very poor because the 2 pigeons were the least expensive sacrifice they were allowed to offer. These people were nothing. There were dozens of couples exactly the same as those 2 people. No one looked twice at them. The priest glanced at them and saw nothing. But the voice of God spoke sharply to me. This is the one you've been waiting for. I may be 84 years old, but I fairly ran toward them, shouting at the top of my lungs. People stopped and stared. As you can imagine, the mother was startled at first, and she pulled her child close to her. The father braced himself as though to protect the child. But when I explained that God had spoken to me and told me this was the long-awaited Savior of the world, this was the newborn King, this was the Lord of the universe, their eyes softened. The mother cried. The father said they had been so puzzled that the priest did not know or recognize a baby or even look twice at them. My greeting gave that family the confidence to carry on in a world that didn't seem to even know they existed.